3 years into our marriage, Sam brazenly brought his new girlfriend into our marital home. With tears in my eyes, I braced myself hard against the master bedroom door. Anywhere but here. This room is off limits. Because inside, I had hidden a wild man I had just brought home. His sworn enemy, Ryan. Chapter 1. Sam has been betraying this marriage for 3 years. To get back at him, I rode my drunken impulse and brought his archenemy Ryan home. But the very next second after we fell onto the bed together, Sam suddenly called. The alcohol was eroding my reason. Ryan's kisses were fierce and eager, and the mood was just right. I had meant to mute the ringtone, but accidentally tapped accept instead. He said, "UFO residence, bring me a box of condoms." I froze for a moment, and my heart suddenly felt like it had become a vast hollow cavity. It didn't hurt. It just felt as if a bitter north wind had blown through it, leaving me chilled to the bone. Over these past 3 years, he had gone from placing his phone face down to showing up in front of me with another woman's kiss marks on him. He had even started asking me without the slightest restraint what brand of gifts 18-year-old girls would like. UFO residence was the place where he now openly kept his mistress. Now, it was 11:39 at night. He wanted me, his wife, to personally deliver condoms for him and another woman. Just how far did Sam want to humiliate me? That man who once loved me so passionately, what did he see me as now? An enemy? With a ripping sound, Ryan tore my stockings apart and buried his head. Ah, ha. My thoughts were cut off. I suddenly clenched a fistful of his hair and began gasping uncontrollably. But Sam, on the other end of the line, misunderstood and let out a soft chuckle. "Are you angry?" I bit my finger and swallowed the sob rising in my throat. Saying nothing, Ryan leaned in to keep kissing me, but after I slapped him away, he settled for licking my earlobe instead. I had every reason to suspect he was trying to eavesdrop. After a silence that wasn't exactly long, Sam continued, "But I'm used to that brand. Luna's too wild, 2 boxes weren't enough." Right after that, a woman's coy laughter came from the other end. "Sam, you're so bad. Aren't you afraid she'll be heartbroken?" Her voice grew louder as she leaned closer to the phone. "He's just messing with you. We don't use those anymore. You've been married for 5 years and still couldn't have a child. Sam means for me to give birth to one for him and let you raise it." I shuddered violently and quickly climbed up Ryan's shoulders, pressing my whole body against him as hard as I could. Cold, too cold. The early autumn night was cold to the bone, and the hollow inside my heart kept growing larger and larger. I desperately needed warmth. I needed someone to fill me up. My tear-filled eyes crashed into Ryan's deep gaze. He bent down and kissed me hard, pulling me tightly into his arms. His large hands, burning with body heat, gripped my skin so forcefully it was as if he wanted to knead that strength into my flesh and bones. Scalding breath spilled between our lips and tongues, tangling, stirring. Ryan, someone I had only met once. Someone who had reached an understanding with me because he too wanted to make Sam miserable. He seemed to know I was cold. I impatiently tugged at his clothes, greedily drawing in that warmth that might have come from pity, like someone who had walked for a long time through snow and ice, suddenly surrounded by long-lost heat. I trembled the instant our skin touched. A surge of electricity ran through my whole body. Numb tingles rose and engulfed my mind, and I drifted into a haze. Into the phone, I softened my tongue and said gently, "Sorry, I can't deliver it." Then I hung up and completely surrendered to Ryan's conquest. Chapter 2. At UFO residence. Sam stared blankly at the phone screen after it went dark, suddenly feeling a little uneasy. Luna looked at his expression and smiled knowingly. "What's wrong, Sam? Your wife didn't throw a fit, and now it doesn't sit right with you?" Sam pressed his lips together and said nothing. Camila hanging up on her own was exactly the reaction he had expected. Her final voice had been soft and hazy in a way he had not heard in a long time, almost like a murmur, probably because he had woken her up, but it had been too calm. Sam still remembered the first time he was found out. Camila's hair had been a mess, her swollen eyes bloodshot, and she had glared at him through gritted teeth, her voice sharper than ever before as she raised her hand to hit him. Back then, she had looked as if she were about to go mad. After that incident, she found him dirty and stopped sleeping with him, so he started getting worse and worse. Lipstick stains on his shirt, kiss marks on his neck, There was even one time when he told her that his new fling had a perkier ass than hers. His original intention had been to make her soften up and seek reconciliation, but things had gone against his wishes. After clashing again and again, he forgot his original purpose. He deliberately hurt her, wanting to see a look of sadness on her face, because only then could he prove that she still cared. But Camila's emotions seemed to be fading little by little. At first, she said there would not be a next time. Later, she said, "Don't let people photograph you." Later still, every time she heard another scandal about him, she would go on a spending spree. But for the past 3 months, he and Luna had been appearing everywhere as a pair, and the rumors had spread everywhere. She had neither come forward to suppress them, nor had she used his card to make a single purchase anymore. Sam suddenly remembered a line from No Longer Human. Over the course of just one night, my heart became like that of a different person. Love may not disappear simply because it is not answered, but it will definitely wither from repeated disappointment. Love cannot call it quits after just a few heartbreaks. So I kept patching it up over and over, until one day I suddenly stopped wanting it, feeling that something so tattered was no longer dignified anyway. So had Camila decided to let him go? Sam suddenly jolted, sat upright, picked up the clothes scattered around one by one, and hurriedly pulled them onto himself. Luna twirled a strand of her hair alluringly, while her other hand climbed onto Sam's shoulder to stop him. Sam, this move is called retreating in order to advance. The moment you get this anxious, you've already fallen into her trap. Sam paused in the middle of standing up. To be honest, your wife is way too poised. She's forcing you to make the first move. But I honestly don't think you did anything wrong. She was the one who pushed you away in the first place. Sam turned to look at Luna, seeing those eyes, so strikingly similar to Camila's, made him feel even more stifled. Yeah, why was Camila so stubborn? He had only lost his head for a moment. In this circle, what man had never found women behind his wife's back? What's more, he had never fallen for any of those women, and he did not even allow them to call him by name. He made them call him President Sam. Even in the heat of passion, the name he kept saying was Camila, not anyone else's. Sam believed he had already given Camila more than enough dignity. He suddenly felt wronged. Why couldn't Camila soften just a little and take the initiative to forgive him? Sam changed his mind. He lifted Luna's chin and smiled with playful meaning. How about a change of place? Want to go to my house? Chapter 3. The moment someone knocked on the master bedroom door, I felt utterly defeated. Sam had not come here in a very long time. The first time he cheated, I only found out 3 months later. So how is it that the moment I finally worked up the courage to take my first step into adultery, I was immediately facing the risk of getting caught? I hurriedly pulled Ryan up and tried to stuff him into the wardrobe, but this man was not cooperative at all. Why hide? Didn't you say I'm bigger than him? But you're fast, sir. Fast like a virgin. Mortified and furious, I clapped a hand over his mouth. Shut up. Do you know why? In those wish fulfillment stories, the first 80% of the plot is always so frustrating. It's to build up enough payoff for the last 20%. Cheating is the same. If you get caught right at the start, not only is it not exciting, it won't hurt Sam all that much either. At the very least, he has to find out after more than 3 months. I didn't care. This damned competitive streak of mine, I had to cheat longer than Sam did. Ryan pressed his lips together, lowered his eyes, and folded himself into the wardrobe. Fine, whatever you say. I shut the wardrobe door, flustered and frantic. First I dug out a cheapao and put it on. Then I grabbed some perfume and sprayed it wildly over myself and around the room. And finally I stepped into my high heels, took a deep breath, and slowly opened the door. It's so late. What do you need? I tried my best to sound calm as I quietly pulled the bedroom door shut behind me. But when I saw the man and woman embracing in front of the door, I still froze on the spot. Pfft. Luna glanced at me and suddenly covered her mouth as she laughed. Sam, it looks like your wife dressed up to win you back. So I guessed right. Behind that calm face, she hasn't gathered enough disappointment to leave. She's just acting aloof while actually inviting you in. She's all ready, just waiting for you to make up with her. As she spoke, she lifted a hand and fanned it in front of her nose. But wow, That perfume is so strong. Don't tell me Big Sis is afraid Sam will smell that old lady scent on her? As if. I was clearly trying to cover up the scent of my wild man. I grumbled inwardly, while dryly explaining aloud. "Aw, I accidentally broke a bottle of perfume." At that, Sam looked me up and down and let out a scornful laugh. "A cheapo?" I touched my collar uncomfortably, only a collar that could hide the scattered kiss marks underneath. Black stockings? My feet took half a step back. The ankle-length skirt covered the huge rip Ryan had torn open, but it still gave people a sense of exposure. High heels? Well, how should I put it? We had kissed all the way from the front door to the bedroom, so Ryan and I really had not had time to change into slippers. Sam cast Luna a half-smiling glance, then reached out and pinned me into the corner of the wall. He leaned close and clicked his tongue. "There's nothing embarrassing about bowing your head to your husband. If you have needs, you can say so directly. Suddenly acting like this now just makes things look ugly." His breath carried the disgusting stale smell of last night's alcohol, advertising the debauchery and filth of the night he had spent with that woman. I shoved him away in disgust. "I think you've misunderstood. Dressing up isn't necessarily about pleasing a man. It can also be about pleasing yourself." Then, through the earbud hidden beneath my hair, Ryan's lowered voice suddenly added another line. "And me." Before opening the door, Ryan and I had connected our phones on a voice call and linked them to our Bluetooth earbuds, so that if anything unexpected happened, we could let each other know immediately. But clearly, he had found a crack in the situation and used it to mouth off. In an instant, the sorrow rising in my chest faded quite a bit, humiliated into anger. Sam grabbed Luna's hand and moved to head into the master bedroom. "Fine, Camila, you'd better keep that mouth of yours this hard forever. If you won't fulfill your duties as a wife, someone else will. Our marital bedroom has great soundproofing. So later, don't come knocking and making excuses." Panic jolted through me, and I quickly stretched out a hand across the doorframe, bracing myself against it with all my strength. "Anywhere but here. This room is off limits." Because I was too guilty. I blinked frantically, and in the process an eyelash fell into my eye, pricking it until tears welled up. Seeing my slightly reddened eyes, Sam suddenly looked a little happier. He seemed to think that I still cared about the special meaning of this master bedroom, the one that had once been covered with bright red wedding bedding. Then go to bed early and have sweet dreams. He stared at me without blinking, his gaze carrying lofty mockery. In my silence, he wrapped an arm around Luna and walked toward the room next door. "We'll keep it down." Luna turned back, looking smug and teasing. Sam frowned and clicked his tongue, then looked at her with a dark glint in his eyes, smacked her on the butt, and shut the door with a bang. The next instant, behind me, the master bedroom door gave a soft click. An arm with veins standing out reached out, wrapped around my waist, and impatiently pulled me inside. Chapter 4. Ryan pressed in close, pinning me into the corner of the wall and wrapping me in his arms in a possessive, confining posture. In front of me, his broad, solid chest rose and fell with each breath. Sadness vanished in an instant. Faced with such beauty, it was absurdly healing. I comforted myself in silence. So what if he was fast? No one is perfect. The man's Adam's apple bobbed, his lower abdomen taut, like a beast lying in wait, poised to spring and devour. And yet he deliberately leaned close to me, putting on an act as he asked in a low voice, "Now that there's only a wall between us, are we still going to continue?" His heavy breathing carried scorching heat as it brushed against my ear. I rose onto my toes and kissed his lips. With just a soft touch, I answered in a gentle, syrupy voice. "Of course. Didn't he just say it himself?" "The soundproofing here is excellent." Ryan instantly flared up as if a fuse had been lit. He wound himself around my lips, fierce and domineering, invading without discussion. Lips and teeth locked with mine as he sucked at my tongue inch by inch. The tightly shut door sealed the room into a tiny world of its own. In the quiet night, the only sounds were the wet bites and tangles of lips and tongues. The whole room was filled with a sweet floral fragrance, as if some invisible hand were teasing the strings of the heart, caressing, provoking, tempting from near and far, making a person dizzy and intoxicated. This is really exciting now. Just one wall between us. He and his little lover. You and me. When the kiss ended, Ryan bit teasingly at the tip of my ear with a wicked smile. His voice was rough and low, every syllable dripping with provocation. I'm really glad I listened to you just now. A low, faint laugh spilled out of my chest as I hooked my arms around his shoulders and fell with him onto the soft bed. Then give me more pleasure. As you command, everything I have will be yours. Ryan's palm slid slowly down along my arm until his hand covered mine. Then, without asking, his fingers slipped into the spaces between my curled fingers, locking our hands tightly together. In that instant, the hollow inside my heart was filled, but the man still seemed unsatisfied. He pressed in more forcefully, determined to pour out all his burning passion and shatter my grief to pieces. Physiological tears welled from the corners of my eyes. Biting my lip, I struggled with all my strength to keep back the embarrassing cry. Ah! From the room next door came an ill-timed shriek, sharp as a cat in heat. Sam! I'm going to die! I rolled my eyes impatiently. The woman was screaming herself hoarse, but so deliberately it was obvious. And yet the man on top of me seemed not to hear it that way at all. He leaned closer, wearing an earnest expression as he asked in a low voice, "Why is she like that? Am I not using enough force?" Ryan proceeded to put into action, with his body, the conclusion he had reached after reflecting on it. MMPH. Damn it. Now his competitive streak had kicked in too. I nearly cried without tears. Hurriedly, I pulled out the hand he was holding and bit down on it hard by my mouth. Sweat dampened my temples. My heart pounded like a drum. My mind was a cloud of white fog, rising and scattering all at once. Whether Ryan was pretending or genuinely did not understand. He tugged my hand away and looked at the bite marks on it with concern. What's wrong? Did I hurt you? He looked into my eyes with overwhelming tenderness, and the worry in them did not seem fake. For a dazed moment, it was enough to make someone feel the illusion of being loved. I smiled lazily and pulled his neck down toward me. Don't stop. Keep going. I kissed his lips again, swallowing every sound that wanted to escape my mouth into our entwined lips and teeth. When I broke free of the shackles, desire became entertainment. Whether there was love or not was hardly worth mentioning. Seizing pleasure while I still could was what mattered most. Chapter 5. Separated by only one wall. He and she spent a whole night in reckless indulgence, and I, with him, surrendered to a single night of greedy pleasure. By the end, I could no longer tell whether it was revenge, competition, or simply my final surrender to the fall seduced by desire. In my exhausted dream, there was a small skiff crossing a storm-tossed sea. The wind was fierce and the waves ran high. Again and again, the little boat advanced and retreated in circling hesitation. The bamboo pole churned the water. The moonlight trembled. White foam burst from the waves. And in the dizzying chaos the boat was swallowed whole. Then the tide slowly receded. The waves lapped gently against the shore. And in the end, everything returned to calm. Chapter 6. The alarm at 8 o'clock the next morning pulled me out of deep sleep. The first thing I saw was an enlarged handsome face. Messy black hair. Thick lashes fluttering lightly. Deep eyes slowly opening, gazing at me with tender affection. His brows curved, and the smile spilling from them was like that of the top courtesan of a pleasure house. Morning. His voice was husky, and he smiled at me with a thoroughly flirtatious expression. Morning. Even though I had already known he was very good-looking before I set out to hook up with him, and had already admired his looks up close last night. Now, with the faint morning light filtering through the gap in the curtains, the sultry atmosphere had faded and reason had returned. Yet this man was still bare-chested, his lower abdomen showing sharply defined V-lines. Utterly seductive. The impact on me was still enormous. It inevitably made me think that, as for last night, it had been far too early to define what counted as fast. At this moment, every inch of my body felt sore and swollen. I wanted to get up, but I did not even know how to exert strength. I wriggled hard under the blanket, and Ryan suddenly laughed, propping up his head in an easy, lazy pose. He asked with an excellent spirit of service, "So, were you satisfied with last night?" The stunningly handsome man smiled, and in an instant it felt as if a spring breeze had swept through this late autumn morning. You were very useful. Huh? Dear God, what was I saying? Ryan's smile grew even brighter. I'm glad you liked it. Good Lord, what was he saying? How could a person lose all shyness right after seeing each other naked for the first time? I gathered the blanket around myself, half wanting to pull it over my head. The sounds from the living room broke this hard-to-describe atmosphere, and I suddenly remembered that I had forgotten all about Sam. Ryan, who still looked calm in bed, and I stared at each other. He made a fist and flexed his bicep for me. Don't worry, I can take him. Is this about fighting? If we got caught together in bed, how was I supposed to keep the moral high ground? No, we can't be exposed right now. Then, do I still have to hide in the wardrobe? Ryan sat up, a single cowlick stuck up in his hair. The bite mark on his left shoulder was clearly visible, and the scratch marks across his chest were in disarray. Holding the blanket around himself, he looked at me with a deeply aggrieved, self-sacrificing expression. In an instant, a saying flashed abruptly through my mind. One day as husband and wife means 100 days of grace. Without thinking, I pushed him back down and blurted out, I can't keep making things hard on you like that. Just stay lying there like this. You were tired last night too. Wait! What on earth was wrong with my mouth today? I suddenly choked, then quickly raised my hand and yanked the blanket up, covering Ryan completely. I'm going to wash up. Don't come out. Under the blanket. Ryan nodded obediently. I'll call you when he leaves. TSK. That really sounded thrilling when I said it. A muffled laugh came from under the blanket, shaking it violently. Only after a moment did he answer in a lazy drawl. Okay. Chapter 7. I washed up as fast as I could and opened the wardrobe. As for clothes, I still had to wear a cheapao. As for shoes, I looked at the pair of high heels lying crooked and askew on the floor. Why wear them? Right now, I had nothing to fear. I walked out barefoot. Sam, who was already seated at the dining table, glanced at me and suddenly stood up. In complete contrast to his vile attitude yesterday, he took out a pair of soft slippers and placed them by my feet. Why don't you like wearing shoes anymore? His tone was intimate, teasingly indulgent, as if we had suddenly returned to the past. But that was exactly what I could not bear the most. I took a deep breath, kicked the slippers aside, and sat down at the other end of the table. Monica, please make one more breakfast. The woman bustling in the kitchen answered cheerfully. Sam's face, which had darkened because of my attitude, visibly brightened again. She already left. How could I possibly let her stay and upset you? He sat down beside me, took my hand, and looked at me with a hint of smugness. My wife really is generous, but you don't need to go this far. I won't let her step over you. Disgusting. He was like some moody tyrant who wounded me until I was covered in blood every single time, only to apply medicine afterward, then softly blow on the wound, as if, in a single night, he could forget every ugly thing he had done. But I remembered. In the second year of our marriage, I finally got pregnant. One day, during a prenatal checkup, he did not come with me. Instead, I received an anonymous text on my phone. It recorded in detail the times and places of his affair, and even thoughtfully attached photos. And when I really found him at that place, I nearly lost my mind. This child had only come after I drank countless bowls of Chinese medicine and went through 3 rounds of IVF. And yet, at that exact moment, he had another woman. The chat history showed that 1 second after apologizing to me, the very next second he had rolled into bed with that woman. I got rid of the baby and asked for a divorce. But Sam, the one who had chosen to cheat, was unwilling. When he saw that my attitude was resolute, he called my parents over. By then, he had already made it through the hardest stage of his startup and become successful and accomplished. The two families gathered together, and everyone blamed me. Sam's parents resented me for aborting the child in a fit of anger, calling me cold-blooded and selfish. My parents smiled apologetically, then turned around and scolded me for being stupid and impulsive, demanding that I hurry up and get pregnant again. In the end, Sam, who had stood by and watched the whole thing, finally stepped forward. I forgive you. So can you forgive me too? Oh, so in his eyes, it seemed I had done something wrong too. Our parents worked so hard to raise us and watched us build a family. Let's not make them worry all day over this, okay? After everyone had turned to his side, there was even a faint trace of smugness in his expression. Let's make up. I looked at him coldly and smiled through my tears. There won't be a next time. Thanks to you. Today I do not even have my parents anymore. At that moment, I placed a piece down on the board in my heart. Sam, I am not going to let you off that easily anymore. I want your heart to tear open into a huge hole too, bleeding without end. I want you to suffer 100 times, 1,000 times more than I did before I can call it revenge. And now, after 3 years of laying out this game, it is finally time to turn from defense to attack. I pulled my hand back and sneered. I remember you once told me we could try an open relationship. So now, how about I find myself a man too? Maybe after that, I'll be able to accept you. Sam's face darkened again. He let out a mocking laugh. What? Did you get provoked? Or is this your latest trick? You want to make me jealous? Make me envious? He suddenly knocked the cutlery by his hand onto the floor. Camila, if you really dare find someone else, I'll bless you for it. But there'll be no going back for us. I won't want a woman who cheapens herself, who can never tell right from wrong, who uses her own body just to act out in anger. When he saw that my expression remained lowered and calm, without the slightest ripple, Sam became even angrier. Our marriage ran into problems, and you're responsible too. You're always so rigid, always holding yourself up, never willing to lower yourself. You won't even say one soft word. And every now and then you have to say hurtful things just to provoke me. He shot to his feet. Keep it up then. When you've finally worn all our feelings away, you'll know what regret is. Watching his furious retreating figure, I curled my lips and smiled soundlessly. Sam, you're wrong. What we had was already worn away long ago. What I want most now is to destroy the successful career you're so proud of. I want you to regret it every single day, to lie awake every single night, dreaming of nothing but the chance to do it all over again. Chapter 8. I did not even get to brood for 2 seconds before Monica came over sighing. She set down the extra breakfast, then crouched to pick up the broken pieces. I felt a little embarrassed. Sorry. I added to your workload again. Monica waved her hand. Oh, this is nothing. My previous employer used to sweep everything off the table whenever she got upset. She was completely unhinged. Compared to that, this is child's play. Her words stopped abruptly the moment she saw Ryan sweeping out of the master bedroom like a gust of wind. I let out an awkward laugh. He's a little clingy. Ryan pulled out his phone, eager to transfer her money to buy her silence. But Monica suddenly slapped her hands together. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. She turned to look at me, her face full of excitement. Well done. What a gorgeous catch too. This new dish of yours is way better than your husband. Ryan lit up. I felt a little awkward. Monica, could I trouble you not to? Oh, I get it. I get it. I won't say a word. Monica shook her head while winking at me furiously. So exciting. You young people really know how to have fun. Covering her mouth, she walked away delighted beyond measure. Ryan held up his phone, looking a little at a loss. She's just leaving? She's not going to praise me a little more? I rolled my eyes at him. Monica only comes over every day to make breakfast. Oh, he dragged a chair over and squeezed in beside me, pretending not to care as he asked. So, when you said open relationship just now, that was to provoke him on purpose, right? You two are going to divorce, aren't you? Pinching his collar, he looked a little shy and a little domineering. We've already gone this far. You have to divorce him and be with me. One night's sleep. And somehow he had slept his way into possessiveness. I rolled my eyes inwardly and looked at him speechlessly. Divorce for what? Our original purpose from the very beginning was to make him miserable, to cuckold him. If we divorce, can it still be called cuckolding? Ryan's expression turned oddly sorrowful, and I did not think that was a good sign. Anyway, I have my own pace. If you can't accept it, I can find someone else. Ryan panicked a little and hurriedly said, You don't need to find someone else. I'll do whatever you say. He pressed his lips together and did his utmost to sell himself. After all, only someone with my status can hurt him the most, right? That was true. It was also the reason I had targeted him in the first place. But to this day, I still did not understand what kind of grudge existed between him and Sam. Ryan was the heir to a wealthy family. Sam was merely a newly rich man who had caught the right market trend. The two of them had no intersection at all, nor any real basis for comparison. But right after Sam cheated, contracts he had already negotiated were suddenly cancelled, and the ones whose cooperation terms had ended chose not to renew. After asking around, I found out that Ryan had publicly declared that wealth never enters the house of a man who mistreats his wife. He then launched into a long list of reasons why cheating men were untrustworthy and could even affect the luck of those around them. After that, he took these arguments to all kinds of public events, naming Sam every single time. With Ryan's open and subtle prompting, Sam's company had a hard time moving forward. Every single time he had to swallow a bit of humiliation himself before he could land a deal. Sam raged at home, cursing Ryan out in every possible way, and that was how I came to know of his existence. Last night, I had only pretended to be so hurt that I had lost my reason. Drunk and woozy, I climbed onto his shoulder and leaned toward his lips in an ambiguous way. I heard you and my husband are sworn enemies. Want to make his life miserable together? Ryan agreed at once, without even a second of hesitation. I suddenly got a little curious and asked him with a nosy look on my face. By the way, why exactly do you hate him so much? It could not really be just because he cheated, could it? Ryan lifted his eyelids and looked at me quietly. His eyes were dark and heavy, and there was a murky shadow in them that I could not understand. After a long while, he parted his lips. His voice carried an inexplicable helplessness and bitterness. You would never know. Oh, he did not want to say. Fine then. It was not as if I was that curious anyway. I looked indifferent. After you eat, go back first. We'll meet again next time. I messaged my Muay Thai coach to take a day off, then turned around and went back to my room to sleep some more. Chapter 9. When I woke after sleeping until dusk had settled over the world, I suddenly realized someone was holding me. I flew into a rage, turned around, and raised my hand to slap him. Sam, how dare you? Wait, Ryan? Why are you still here? The man rubbed sleepily against my arm with dazed eyes, his voice thick and sticky, tired. In an instant, my face grew a little hot. I pulled the blanket up for him and tucked it in around him. Sleep then. Sleep. I turned away and pressed a hand to my forehead, looking world-weary. No, seriously, were people this brazen when having an affair now? Was he really just planning to move in directly? That night, Sam did not come. Ryan happily cooked dinner with me. After eating, we sat on the carpet leaning against the sofa and watched a movie on the projector. After washing up, he lay down contentedly on the master bed and patted the spot beside him. I scratched at my hair, racking my brains and still unable to understand it. How had this whole couple-like routine become so smooth? While I had been asleep during the day, he had even found time to go home, pack up his toiletries and clothes, bring them over, and hide them in my wardrobe. His stated reason was that if we were doing this, we should commit to the thrill all the way. Now, wearing his deep V silk pajama top hanging open at the chest, he beckoned at me happily with one finger. Come on. I would not. I was scared, and then Ryan carried me straight onto the bed, his hands already clumsy and restless on me. I declined politely. No, really, I can't. My waist hurts. Then I'll just hold you. Then could you not poke me? I can't help it, but I promise. I clapped a hand over his mouth. Oh my, since when do pig trotters talk? Go to sleep. I shut my eyes at once, preparing to catch him in the act and condemn him severely. But then I slept through the whole night, and nothing happened. Ryan got up early and went to help Monica make breakfast. The moment I opened the door, he was carrying breakfast, his white teeth flashing in a dazzling grin, with broad shoulders, a narrow waist, and a small apron tied around him. He was giving off full husband material vibes. I felt this really would not do. This was too brazen. After Monica left, I sat at the dining table and tested the waters. How about I go to your place instead? Sure, then I'll help you pack right now. I sucked in a breath. Why did that suddenly feel wrong somehow? Ryan rolled up his sleeves, full of energy. It's better to bring everything you need. All the things you're used to using. He pulled open the drawer in my bedroom and found it empty. Then he opened the wardrobe and found that, aside from the compartment he had hidden in, The rest was empty too. Ryan looked delighted. Had you already been preparing to leave him? Then you don't need to bring these outfits that are just for appearances. I've already bought everything for you at my place. Cough, cough, cough. Realizing he had misspoken, he corrected himself. I just bought them. I narrowed my eyes. Something was off. This man was very off. Chapter 10. I moved into Ryan's house and began living a shameless fake couple life with him. My idea was simple: divorce the scumbag, and at the same time make him grow sick of me too. I had thought that this kind of absurd relationship would surely fade little by little, but Ryan seemed to be getting more and more hooked. About half a month passed like that. Sam, who had been putting on his lovey-dovey act with Luna for quite some time, finally confirmed that this time there really was no audience, even when he showed up at a bridal shop with Luna and bought matching couple rings. And Luna called me smugly to provoke me. All she got from me was a feint. Oh, Sam finally could not hold back anymore and called me himself. It's this late already. Where are you? What kind of tantrum are you throwing now? A pair of large hands wrapped around me from behind as Ryan buried his face in my shoulder and sucked hard. I really wanted to say, I'm in another man's bed. But in the end, I chose to pin it on my best friend instead. I'm at Roxana's place. I'm not going back. Sam let out a breath and spoke again. Don't forget. Tomorrow you're coming with me to the banquet. I frowned. Are you sure you want me to go with you? There was not the slightest hesitation in Sam's voice. You're my wife. If I don't take you, who else would I take? Oh, right. I bought you a gemstone ring at the auction. Wear it tomorrow. But his assistant had told me that what he had bought was a whole set of gemstone jewelry. He had given the necklace and earrings to Luna and left the ring for me. Ryan had also found out that Luna's name was on the banquet guest list. So Sam's plan for tomorrow night was for me to show up wearing the ring he had bought, only to run into Luna wearing the matching necklace and earrings. He wanted to tell everyone that I might hold the title of his wife, but the woman he loved was someone else. If I were kept in the dark, then that night I would be the biggest joke of all. If I still loved him, then that night my heart would hurt as if it were being cut to pieces. I suddenly felt a little tired. The man who had once been my lover had changed beyond recognition and now fed on my pain. We had gone from school uniforms to wedding clothes, weathered graduation season, long distance, meeting each other's parents, obstacle after obstacle, and finally ended up together. I had thought it was the beginning of a happy life, only to find it all ended in ruins. Let's make a clean end of it that day, I said solemnly. Okay, I'll be there on time, just like the day we got married, with so many people there to witness it. If we were going to break apart, then it should at least have a proper beginning and end. Sam, on the other end, had no idea what kind of storm was brewing inside me. A hidden smile colored his voice. So you're finally being obedient for once. I thought you were going to make a scene for a while before agreeing. The only answer he got was endless silence. I hung up quickly. His self-righteousness disgusted me. After hearing that I had agreed to attend the banquet, Ryan did not show much on his face, but he became unusually clingy. He buried his fluffy head in the crook of my neck like an enthusiastic big dog pouncing on me, wildly nibbling and licking. The next day, I looked at the red marks scattered across my collarbones in the mirror and expressionlessly squeezed out a pump of foundation. Before I could even spread it, Ryan raised his hand and wiped it away. I turned my head and looked at him helplessly. Doing this really is a little childish. No, I just wanted an excuse to give you a gift. As he spoke, he slowly brought out an outrageously lavish handful from behind his back, spread it open, and carefully fastened it around my neck. One choker clasped snugly around my throat, and another gemstone necklace, heavy and magnificent, lay flat across my collarbones. The two sets together instantly covered every single kiss mark perfectly. Looking at me in the mirror, he said seriously, whether it's a necklace or anything else, you deserve the best. Then he dropped to one knee and solemnly slipped an enormous gemstone ring onto my ring finger. I froze slightly. So was this to comfort me? This man's feelings were becoming more and more obvious. I lowered my eyes and spoke softly. Lend me that cousin of yours who just got back from abroad, okay? Since he wants to use another woman to humiliate me, I can't exactly let myself lose. Ryan tugged at his tie, a little puzzled. Am I not the best candidate? I smiled lightly and kissed him. You're the ultimate weapon. I'm saving you for the end. Chapter 11. That night, I did not let Sam come pick me up, but I still wore the ring he had prepared for me. When Sam saw the ring on my hand, his eyes flickered slightly, as if he could not quite bear it. But in the end, he said nothing, only hypocritically extending a hand toward me. I smiled lightly and did not move. Ryan, who had deliberately come in through another entrance, strode quickly over to me. He wore a smile that looked thoroughly punchable. Miss Camila, hello. Forgive my boldness, but I think your neck is very beautiful, and your collarbones are very sexy. You really ought to show them. I shot him a half-smiling, half-eye-rolling look. What an asshole, sir. Thank you for your compliment. I think next time, if my neck hasn't had an allergic reaction from being chewed on by a friend's dog, I'll take your advice. Our eyes met, and in that instant there was a different kind of thrill that only the two of us understood. Before coming here, Ryan had been a little unhappy because I had taken off his ring, but now, he seemed to have found his happiness somewhere else. Sam, standing at the side, was furious to the point of almost exploding. Hasn't Ryan always been the most proper one? Saying things like that to my wife right in front of me, isn't that a little too frivolous? Ryan shrugged indifferently. Sorry, I've been properly in love with a girl for a long time, but her husband has been cheating for 3 years and she still won't divorce him. I've gotten a little impatient, so all I can do is lower my moral standards again and again. For example, Ryan raised a brow at me. I can even accept trying before making it official. My eyes widened in shock, and I stared blankly at Ryan. He gazed back at me just as deeply. In that split second, countless images flashed through my mind. Actually, even earlier than this, Ryan and I had gone to the same high school. It seemed we had even exchanged a few words. In our senior year, Ryan's identity as the heir to a wealthy family was exposed, and he was forced to transfer schools right before the college entrance exams. On the day he left, he gave imported chocolates to everyone in the grade. Sam's business, which had grown more and more difficult after his affair, still ended up getting deals after Ryan made things hard for him. And that night, when I had deliberately cornered Ryan while he was alone at the club, he had not even taken time to think before cleanly abandoning the friends he was with. He was not a playboy at all. In fact, because he had never had a girlfriend, rumors had once spread that he was gay. I let out a dry laugh, a little flustered. Mr. Ryan, are you standing up for me? Don't worry, I won't let someone else's mistakes hurt me. Seeing that something was off in my expression, Sam sneered and yanked me forcefully into a corner. His tone could not hide its urgency or mockery. He's doing this because of me. Because he's jealous of me. You don't seriously think what he said was real? That he would actually like you, do you? Pointing at me, he stressed every word. You're a married woman pushing 30. You've been married. You've lost a child. Can you stop indulging in these absurd, narcissistic fantasies? There were so many things wrong with what he said that for a moment I did not even know where to begin cursing him. I could only ask, a little messily, what exactly does he have to be jealous of you for? He's taller than you, better looking than you, richer than you, and more well endowed than you, in the chest. Ha! Sam let out a cold laugh. He may be the heir to a rich family, sure, but the wealth in his hands was accumulated by his ancestors. How could that compare to me? Building myself up from nothing? That's what those upper-class people are like, petty. They already sit on mountains of wealth, and still they envy other people's ability. This was really opening my eyes. How could someone be this narcissistic? Sometimes poverty really does hide a person's true nature. The Sam now in front of me, that was his real face. The essence of cheating is greed and selfishness. In his heart, he never truly believed in monogamy. All those things he said, love, loving forever, loving only me, had conditions attached. They only counted when he was poor. Chapter 12. I quietly clenched my fists. I was starting to lose control. Luckily, Luna arrived just then. In her tight-fitting dress, she walked over with swaying grace. After glancing at the ring on my hand, her face filled with unconcealed malice and mockery. The last trace of reluctance in Sam vanished completely. Right in front of me, under everyone's gaze, he wrapped an arm around Luna's waist. For a moment, It felt as though everyone around us had frozen before things returned to normal. I smiled lightly and turned my head to look at Ryan in the distance. He waved to the young boy beside him, so that thoroughly confused boy came running over to my side. I hooked my arm through his and raised my brows slightly at Sam. "Don't look so awful. You pull one over on me. I return the favor. It's only fair." The boy leaned toward me, clearly baffled. "Sis in. Sis. What am I supposed to do? Slut?" Luna suddenly let out a shriek. "Was he trying to call you a slut? You slept with him to get back at Sam, didn't you? Otherwise, why would he call you that?" I looked at Sam coldly. "Your little date just called me a slut. Aren't you going to do anything about it?" Sam's face darkened. "She didn't say anything wrong. You're hanging on another man right in front of me just to compete with me. If that doesn't make you a slut, what does?" "Ha!" I let out a cold laugh, raised my hand, and slapped him hard across the face. Sam's head snapped to the side. He stared at me in disbelief. "Camila, you hit me?" Under his furious gaze, I grabbed my skirt, lifted my leg, and kicked him viciously in the crotch. With tears in my eyes and a sob in my voice, I shouted, "Sam, how can you bully me like this?" I slammed my head into his nose, stomped hard on his foot with my high heel, and drove my elbow into his jaw. "You brought your little mistress to a banquet with me and even held her in front of my face." I held up the ring on my hand, then pointed at the necklace on Luna's neck. "And what is this supposed to mean? You give me the title, and her the love. Is that it?" As I spoke, I side-kicked, sweep-kicked, kicked him again and again. "I'm not hitting her. I'm hitting you. Because if you hadn't cheated, she never would have appeared in front of me. Because you indulged her, she came to provoke me. At the end of the day, your fault is far greater." I struck his vulnerable chest with my knuckles and drove my elbow into his ribs. "You cheated when I was 2 months pregnant. Did you think I would compromise because I had drunk countless bowls of Chinese medicine and gone through 3 rounds of IVF for that hard-won child?" Sam was powerless to fight back, and too ashamed to cry out. All he could do was curl up on the floor with his head in his hands. I climbed on top of him and slapped him again and again. "The child was gone, and I wanted a divorce. You refused. You used my parents to pressure me. I thought you were filthy, and then you paraded those women around in public just to carve up my heart." A wave of gasps rippled through the crowd, mixed with murmurs that what Sam had done was truly too much. But they did not know that my tears were fake. My real tears had dried up on the day I found out he was cheating. Now, they were just giving me enough reason to beat him like this. That marriage certificate Sam had clung to so desperately had become my best shield. Luna tried to come over and pull me away, but Ryan's cousin stopped her. I kept slapping Sam over and over, returning every invisible slap he had once thrown in my face. This time with interest. Once again, my eyes were bloodshot. My hair was in disarray, and all my dignity was gone. An untimely thought even crossed my mind. Well, this kills 2 birds with 1 stone. Now that Ryan has seen me like this, he probably won't want anything to do with me anymore. But suddenly, warmth settled over my knees. Ryan had taken off his jacket and draped it over my overly exposed thighs. Then he raised a hand and kept back the people trying to pull us apart. "This is Miss Camila's private matter. Please let her handle it herself." His shadow covered me completely. He stood in front of me with a commanding frame, his gaze colder and sharper than I had ever seen before. His presence was powerful, yet strangely reassuring. Then, suddenly, he turned his head and gently reminded me, "Be careful. Don't hurt your nails." My hand suddenly could not come down again. I even wanted to lift my hand and tuck the loose, messy strands of hair behind my ear. Already dazed, Sam's gaze moved slowly between Ryan and me. "You, too?" I leaned close to his ear. "Yes, the 2 of us." Chapter 13. I took Sam to the hospital, and as usual, the doctor asked, "What happened here?" I did not hide anything. "We went to a banquet, and he brought his little mistress too. He bought a whole set of jewelry. She got the necklace and earrings, and I got the ring." The nurse helping with Sam's examination perked up her ears. "Not long ago, he even had me deliver condoms for him and his mistress. Later, he brought the homewrecker into our house and had her stay next door to me. At the very beginning, He cheated when I was 2 months pregnant. When I connected all of that together, I just couldn't stop myself from hitting him. The nurse's originally gentle movements became visibly rougher. When Sam let out a pained groan, she even mocked him. "What are you yelling for? You're a grown man, and you can't even take a little pain?" The corners of my lips lifted slightly. "Sam, you had finally gone too far, to the point that even outsiders were indignant on my behalf. If you want someone destroyed, first let them run wild." I had endured in silence and laid low for 3 years. At last, I could finally bring this to an end. I opened my phone, and the latest trending topic was right there in front of me. Luna, the panicked nobody actress. Me striking swiftly beside her, and Sam getting beaten up. And that line, "I'm not hitting her, I'm hitting you," because if you hadn't cheated, she never would have appeared in front of me. Because you indulged her, she came to provoke me. At the end of the day, your fault is far greater. Top comments from netizens. So after all these years, someone finally hit the right person for once. A little legal education here: if you lose control and beat up the mistress, you could get sent in. But if you beat the hell out of your husband in a fit of rage, that's just a family matter. Also a warning to the mistresses: if you lose control and hit the lawful wife, you'll go in too. So don't be an idiot. Sis, you must have been secretly training for this day for a long time, right? After everyone else had left, Sam, lying in the hospital room, finally recovered a little. His face was swollen like a pig's head, but the sadness in it was impossible to hide as he asked me, "Do you really hate me that much?" I took out his phone, unlocked it, silenced it, powered it off, and smashed it hard. Only then did I answer solemnly, "Yes, I hate you. I started hating you 3 years ago, when you made my parents come and pressure me. Everything after that, my hysterics, my step-by-step concessions, every purchase order that looked like compromise, all of it was an act I put on for you." Sam did not understand. Why? Because the world demands that women be spotless and pure. The very concept of chastity, from the moment it was invented, was a virtue aimed only at women, and the world also demands that women be docile and long-suffering, as if only when they are bullied to an outrageous extreme will their resistance be understood. I was waiting for you to say, "UFO residents, bring me a box of condoms." There was no helping it. It seemed that only when a woman became pitiful enough would she evoke sympathy. Only then would people feel anger. Only then could I destroy you. Only then could I nail your name to the pillar of shame reserved for scumbags, so that your reputation would rot forever. In a divorce, you can divide the house, the car, the money, the child, but no one cares about what to do with the wounds carved into your heart by the other person. How are those supposed to be repaid? I wanted justice for my wounds. Sam was furious. Even so, I still won't divorce you as long as your parents are still on my side. Don't even think about leaving me. I gave him a mocking smile. This time, that's not up to you. If it's your parents who beg you to get divorced, how long do you think you can hold out? Under Sam's bewildered gaze, his parents came rushing over after hearing the news. "You jinx. You homewrecker. You barren plague hen. Who do you think you are, laying hands on my son?" The moment Sam's mother entered, she started spewing filthy abuse and even raised her designer handbag as if to hit me. I dodged quickly and drove a punch into Sam's stomach, making him yelp. Sam's mother was beside herself with heartache and raised her hand again. Without hesitation, I punched Sam one more time. "You old hag. Look carefully. Every time you insult me or try to hit me, I'll turn around and hit your son." His father, who had been standing to the side watching the show, finally stepped in to stop her. "Enough. Look at the boy first." I nodded towards Sam and praised him. "Your dad understands the situation." At least, the moment I said that, I drew enough hatred for myself. All 3 members of the family glared at me. I pulled the divorce papers out of my bag and tossed them onto the hospital bed. Perfect timing. You can all persuade him properly and get him to sign. Otherwise, I guarantee you that scenes like today, your son beaten into a pig's head, will become the norm from now on. Chapter 14. As I walked out of the hospital room, I picked up my phone and called Luna's assistant. "It's time you persuade her. Better a dead friend than yourself." While everyone's attention is focused on Sam right now, Have her pin everything on him. Luna was not beautiful enough. But she really was foolish. Especially now that she could not get through to Sam's phone. She would think she had been abandoned. And in a burst of resentment and hot-headed anger, she would agree to her assistant's suggestion. Luna would never imagine that her assistant had switched sides and come over to mine. Sometimes the fury of an underpaid worker earning $3,000 a month and getting no respect can destroy everything. So never look down on anyone casually. From the dim corner by the stairwell, Ryan quietly poked his head out. You bought the trending topic? The frustration that had been sitting in my chest for 3 years had finally been released all at once, and my mood was excellent. I reached out and scratched him lightly under the chin in praise. Very smart. So when are you two getting divorced? Excitement sparkled in Ryan's eyes, as if an invisible tail were wagging behind him. Thinking of the things he had said before, I could not help becoming serious. Ryan, I don't dare to love again. It's true that once people get something, they stop cherishing it. It's like buying a new pair of shoes. Every time they get even a little dusty, you carefully wipe them clean, but after enough time passes, even if someone steps on them, you no longer care. Sam used to be the kind of person who would feel heartache if I merely frowned. Ryan's expression went blank for a moment, at a complete loss. Between adults, feelings do not require an explicit rejection. What I had just said was already clear enough, but Ryan suddenly wrapped me in a tight hug and said pitifully, "Then I won't become official. I'll stay on probation forever, okay? I'll find you the best lawyer. I'll make sure he leaves with nothing." I found Ryan a bit difficult to deal with. This guy really was immune to reason. Originally, I had thought that since I had once had my sincere feelings betrayed, I absolutely could not be the one to betray someone else's sincerity. But the more stubborn he became, the more it stirred up my competitive streak. It almost made me want to gamble with him again and see just how long his love could last. Luckily, I was rational enough, so I smiled and said to him, "I don't want his money, and I don't want his house. I only want to destroy him. So don't do anything, just watch. Wish me success. If I fail, there may have to be bloodshed. It could become a fight to the death." Ryan, faced with a woman this obsessive, now you should be afraid. Wah, it's my fault. This is all my fault. No, Ryan, what the hell is that noise? I could barely keep the fake smile on my face anymore. Ryan suddenly burst into tears, grabbing at his own hair in regret. I shouldn't have been so proper back then, waiting for you to divorce, and I shouldn't have invested in Sam just to make your life a little easier. I should have crashed your wedding and thrown money at your parents until they agreed. Wait, you invested in Sam? A memory suddenly surfaced. When Sam had just started his business, he was under vicious pressure and could never raise enough capital. Just when he was about to give up, an old classmate he had not contacted in ages suddenly offered to lend him a huge sum of money. I had found it strange at the time, but Sam had been smug about it, saying that even heaven itself was helping him. So his success was because of me? If Sam only learned that truth after the divorce, how badly would he break down? The thought filled me with malice. Ryan stepped forward, wrapped an arm around my waist, buried his face in my shoulder, and said half jokingly, half seriously, "Back then, I should have made my identity clear, used money to threaten him, and had you delivered straight to my bed. Maybe then he would have shown his true colors." His arms tightened around me little by little. "So, Camila, if you fail, I'll be the one to do the bloodshed." Psycho. That was the only evaluation I had for Ryan. Chapter 15. That night, Luna posted a statement saying that Sam had concealed the fact that he was married from her, and that she was a victim too. I bought her a flood of paid commenters, and every single one of them cursed Sam out in the comments. Then I found a brand that wanted publicity and had them approach her, just when she was feeling the most smug and carried away. I swiftly registered an account and posted an audio clip. "UFO residents, bring me a box of condoms. Sam, you're so bad. Aren't you afraid she'll be heartbroken? He's just messing with you. We don't use those anymore. You've been married for 5 years and still couldn't have a child. Sam means for me to give birth to one for him and let you raise it." Luna's voice was crystal clear. The moment the recording was posted, it shot straight onto the trending list. Luna was cursed out of the entertainment industry. The endorsement deals she had just signed all terminated, and the brands demanded compensation for their losses. The latest top comment was, "I'm begging you, for the sake of my mental health, divorce him already." I replied at once, "The first time he cheated, I already aborted the baby and asked for a divorce." But he refused. He even had my parents threaten me with death to force me to compromise. His career was successful, and my parents stood on his side too. A domineering CEO-type commenter left a top comment, "When the sky turns cold, let the Shin Empire collapse." Folks, charge. Sam's name began to become synonymous with scumbag. Netizens even invented a new standard for measuring trash men. Worse than Sam, or not as bad as Sam. People started sending chrysanthemums to his company. Employees jumped ship one after another, and openly said that having worked at that company was a stain on their resume. Some business partners even withheld payments and bluntly said that they would only release the money once Sam got divorced. My phone began receiving call after call from both sets of parents and from relatives. It looked like the public backlash had reached them too. I shut my phone off directly and hid away in Ryan's villa. I, Camila, can love fiercely, and I can let go too. Love and family are the same. I had already decided not to care about them anymore, but I was still afraid. Their words could still hurt me all over again. I needed an embrace, a little warmth, and a little madness. The curtains in the bedroom were never drawn open again. Most of the time, I lay in bed sleeping in a blur of day and night, or tangled up with Ryan, losing track of time as we kept at it. Every other day, I would release a little more evidence of Sam's cheating to keep the heat alive. Sam finally compromised and sent me a message to discuss the divorce. Only then did I go to meet him, bringing along 2 private bodyguards. But the moment I saw both sets of parents glaring at me from the side, I knew it. Even at a time like this, Sam still wanted to drive a knife into my heart. I rolled my shoulders, twisted my neck, and ran my tongue over my upper teeth. "Why can't you ever learn?" As I spoke, I slapped him across the face and said to the bodyguards behind me, "Hold them back." Each bodyguard stopped one pair of parents while I focused on dealing with Sam. I attacked his idiot brain and bent back his little finger. "Sam, when I first brought up divorce, I held out for half a month. My parents went from calling me stupid, impulsive, and selfish to threatening me with death, completely ignoring the fact that I had just miscarried and was still in postpartum recovery. I kicked his groin, stomped on his feet, and clawed up his face. Did you think I still cared about them now?" I grabbed Sam by the hair and slammed his head against the table. "Yes, of course I do. When I see them, I get angry. When I think of the things they said before, I want to go mad. And you, the mastermind behind all of this, the devil who finally left me with nowhere to call home every time you show up with them. I want to beat you once. At last." The chaotic shouting from both sets of parents merged into one unified plea telling me to stop. Unhurriedly, I pulled out a tissue and wiped the blood from my hands, then cast a cold glance at the 2 pairs of red-eyed parents. "I'll say it one more time. If any of you dares insult me even once, or try to hit me even once, I'll return it all to him." I lifted Sam's chin. "So, can you sign now?" Chapter 16. This is domestic violence. Sam's mother probably could not swallow the insult anymore and shouted at me. All bluff and no backbone. I smiled lazily and spread my hands. "So what? I know exactly how far to go." It looks serious, but really, it's all superficial injuries. Besides, I have more than enough reason to be impulsive. Your son cheated on me for 3 years, flaunted it right under my nose, and both families were helping him. Me hitting him is hardly excessive, is it? Sam's father chimed in from the side. "You trained for this on purpose." I shrugged indifferently. "Same answer as before. Your son cheated, and for the sake of my physical and mental health, I developed a personal hobby. That's hardly too much. No matter how much you say, as long as that marriage certificate you all used to force me to compromise still exists. His wounds and his pain can only be swallowed along with broken teeth. Perhaps because my shameless attitude was so completely different from the person I used to be." My parents covered their mouths and burst into tears. "Camila, how did you become like this?" I looked at them coldly. "The moment you decided to stand on Sam's side for the sake of my younger brother's job, I had already changed." Sam, who had been silently enduring the beating until now, finally spoke. "Mom, Dad, All of you go out. Oh. So now he wanted a serious talk? I immediately joined in driving them out. Be cooperative. The sooner you divorce, the sooner your precious son can escape his sea of suffering. After saying that, I clicked my tongue quietly. How delightful. Who would have thought I'd ever become someone else's sea of suffering? When the room was left with only Sam and me, I finally sneered and spoke. You have something you want to ask me, and you don't want them to know. Are you trying to save face for me, or save face for yourself? Sam lifted his swollen head, his eyes dark and gloomy beyond measure. Are you really together with Ryan? Of course. I cut in without hesitation. It's been a while. That day, you almost ran into us. The night you brought Luna home, he didn't have Luna's thick skin, so he didn't dare show up openly and hid in the wardrobe in the master bedroom. That's why I stopped you from going in. While Sam trembled with rage, I leaned forward, pulled out the phone he had hidden under the table, turned on the screen, and paused the recording. You wanted me to get cursed out along with you? I tapped his forehead with amused mockery. This is a new era now. I'm not going to be drowned in a pig cage, and people aren't going to keep pointing fingers at me forever. Besides, after all the disgusting things you did, the only thing people would say is that I did a beautiful job. Sam clenched his teeth and changed the subject. The company can't hold on anymore. The house and the cars will all have to be sold off. After making such a huge scene, what exactly were you trying to get? I leaned close to his ear and asked in a low voice. Do you remember those huge purchase orders I used to make? I never actually bought bags or jewelry. I transferred the money out and used it for investments. Your cheating was so high profile. You dragged my face through the dirt. The wives who had the same troubles liked finding a sense of superiority through me, so they were willing to give me orders and make money together with me. After saying that, I leaned back and resumed my normal tone. Sam, that's what you should have recorded. What a pity. The only one ending up broke is you. The veins in Sam's hand bulged as he gripped the edge of the table. Camila, you're vicious. My face suddenly darkened. Sam, you were the one who was vicious first. You shouldn't have wanted everything. I took off the gemstone ring from my hand, set it on the table, and flicked it in front of him, imitating the cold tone he used to speak in. I said coolly, this ring is still worth some money. Today only. I'm leaving it to you. Hurry up and sign. You wouldn't want your parents, after struggling through half their lives, to end up destitute in old age, would you? At last, Sam signed the divorce papers. His belated confession of love was nauseating. Camila, whether you believe me or not, I still love you even now. I just used the wrong method. I never meant to hurt you on purpose. I decided to stick another thorn in him and warn him at the same time, so I smiled brightly and said, Ryan is in a hurry to marry me, so 1 month from now, please be there on time, and don't try any tricks. Otherwise, ending up broke will be the least of your problems. Chapter 17. Next came the wait for the cooling off period to end, but I could not calm down at all, even though I was utterly certain. I was still afraid that scumbag Sam would change his mind at the last minute. So I kept training. When Ryan found me, I was pounding the heavy bag with fierce punches, muttering, cooling off period, this damned cooling off period. Ryan quietly backed out again. He did not dare stir up trouble and started devoting himself to the art of flirtation. My feed was flooded with photos of abs, wet shirt shots, and uniform seduction, all visible only to me. Every time after climbing into my bed, he would deliberately act magnanimous and tell me, as long as I can be with you, I'm willing to have no title and no status. I moved back into my own small apartment, and he trotted right along after me, carrying a little bag, going out every day to buy groceries and cook. Then he would whine and mumble, these people are so nosy, they keep asking about my relationship with you, without even lifting my head. I said, then pretend you're mute. Ryan wilted. He started giving me gifts and signing voluntary gift agreements. Baby, I won't say love, but I'll make low, your business my business. That was hard to evaluate. I chose to go to sleep. When we finally made it through the cooling off period, Ryan dressed up even more solemnly than I did. He wore the flashiest clothes, the most expensive watch, the most handsome styling, and drove the most eye-catching car. He even showed a tiny bit of dissatisfaction when I put on a cheapao that covered the kiss marks he had very deliberately bitten out on me the day before. Why are you still hiding them now? It's one thing if I'm the one who can't see the light of day, but do even the little strawberries have to stay out of the light? He started pinching his own neck in front of the mirror. Then I'll just show mine. After putting on an act for quite a while, he tugged open his collar toward me. How about you help me? I yawned, picked up a lipstick, and forged 2 marks on him. Then, under his slightly dissatisfied gaze, I kissed him twice more. Once I had coaxed him into a good mood, I seized the chance to make a demand. In a bit, you're not allowed to show up, and you can't drive your car over there either. Don't come out until I call you. If he kept showing off like this and pushed Sam over the edge at the last minute, that would be bad. After smoothing Ryan over, I went to the Civil Affairs Bureau alone. Sam had managed to tidy himself up into something presentable, but the dejection and hatred in his eyes were impossible to hide. He looked behind me, then mocked. Where's Ryan? Wasn't he in such a hurry to marry you? Why didn't he just drive you over and conveniently get the certificate too? I smiled back and countered, doing it on the same day as you would be bad luck. So he dumped you. Huh? I told you long ago. How could someone like him ever actually be interested in you? Camila, it was just cheating. And yet you made it turn into something this ugly. Who would dare marry you in the future? They probably wouldn't even dare date you. Why should cheating be resolved so simply as just divorce? I really wanted to argue it out with him, but seeing him grow more and more agitated, I quickly cut him off. Yes, 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 you're absolutely right. So can we handle the paperwork now? Ha! He stared into my eyes and sneered. Stop acting tough. You regret it too, don't you? Just look at those dark circles under your eyes. I decided to keep my mouth shut and not respond with a single word. When I finally got the certificate in my hands, I let out a long breath and typed to Ryan, Pikachu. Thunderbolt. Attack! Chapter 18. When Sam walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, looking lost and desolate. It was finally Ryan's moment to make his entrance. Dressed up especially to look dazzling, holding a bouquet in full bloom, he placed it into my hands. The watch face that showed at his wrist caught the sunlight and flashed so brightly that Sam narrowed his eyes. He looked at Ryan in disbelief. You are still together? Yeah, what else would we be? I rose onto my toes and whispered in Ryan's ear. Even now he still thinks you only flirted with me because you were jealous of his self-made success. Hearing that reason for the first time, Ryan's mouth fell open. What? That's like an old lady climbing into bed and making Grandpa laugh himself silly. As he spoke, he wrapped an arm around me and stepped in front of Sam. Listen carefully. Everything I said that day was true. I've liked Camila for many years. He bowed solemnly. Thank you for cheating. You finally gave me a chance. Sam took a heavy blow, but still snapped back stubbornly. What's so great about her? What? Did you get too used to delicacies and suddenly decide you wanted to sample leftovers that someone else had already eaten? I pried open Ryan's clenched fist, laced our fingers together, and flung a set of documents over. You, someone who benefited from me, have no right to judge me. After Sam read them, it looked as if he could hardly stay standing. His voice shook as he asked, That money, it was yours? Just because you liked her? Ryan answeredly, Yes, I did it so Camila could live a little better. You were just incidental. So think carefully about what exactly it is that you lost. Oh, no, that's not right. You didn't really lose anything. You just went back to square one. That's where you belonged in the first place. I wrapped an arm around Ryan's waist and gave an affected little yawn. If there's nothing else, we'll be going now. Ryan was too wild last night. He kept me occupied all night, and I'm in a hurry to catch up on sleep. This time, Sam did not say another word. In my last glance, through the car window, I saw him still standing there in a daze, as though he had suddenly gone numb. Ryan looked at my indifferent expression and suddenly spoke. So before you knew about that investment, when you first came to find me, was it really just so I could appear in front of him during the divorce? I reached out and touched his chin, my tone meaningful. Yes, that was your only function, but your destructive power was enormous. Men are strange, whether the woman who leaves them becomes successful, radiant, or anything else, so long as there is no man standing beside her. They will arrogantly assume they have not been forgotten and have not been let go. They may even decide that such a woman has no charm, which only confirms for them how correct they were to leave in the first place. But the moment another man stands beside me, a man far more outstanding than he is, he will grind his teeth and ache with regret. He will lose sleep at night, forever suspecting that he had no eye for treasure, that he mistook the box for the pearl and carelessly threw away a gem. It is like a wild weed, cast aside with ease by one person, only to be treasured like a rare flower by another. Then the person who discarded it will believe that what he lost by accident was something precious beyond measure. That sense of contrast, regret, frustration, unwillingness, and jealousy will torment him forever. That was Ryan's purpose, killing without drawing blood, destroying the heart without using a blade. I had waited 3 years for this day, but when I truly got it, my heart still went blank for a moment. I leaned quietly against the car window, putting as much distance between Ryan and myself as possible. Silence spread through the whole car, and the sound of traffic outside was like a storm of pouring rain. If Ryan did not like me, then maybe at this moment we could have laughed out loud, smacked hands, and shouted that it felt amazing. But there was no if. My lips parted and closed several times before I finally forced the words out with difficulty. The goal has been achieved. We can end this now. Love means letting go and wanting the best for someone. If you really love me, then don't make me question your love. I used his love to his mouth, afraid that his persistence would make me waver. If getting me means you won't cherish me, then can you just never get me? That way, you'll love me forever. My nails dug deep into my palm, and I did not dare turn my head. In the corner of my vision, there was only the little 4-leaf clover ornament I had once idly said I liked, still swaying mechanically from side to side. Ryan parked the car downstairs outside my building. This time, he did not get out. His voice was a little hoarse. Then I'll take you this far. My eyes suddenly felt a little sore. Thank you for everything along the way. Chapter 19. If nothing unexpected had happened, the story should have ended here, but I got pregnant. When my best friend Roxana found out, she laughed herself silly. Ryan's got game. The thing Sam couldn't figure out in 2 years, Ryan managed in 2 months? You really should slap the pregnancy report right in Sam's face. What was it he used to say back then? I have endometriosis, which makes it hard for me to get pregnant. When Sam cheated the first time, he had even tried to defend himself by saying it was all because of me. Because I had trouble getting pregnant, we had to do IVF. Because IVF made my body swell and my temper worsen. Because I kept crying out in pain and always complaining to him. He felt annoyed and went looking elsewhere. Roxana was still indignant on my behalf. So now the truth is out. If you hadn't married him, maybe you wouldn't even have needed IVF back then. Yeah, I had not expected it either. I had only indulged Ryan a few times. He had earnestly shown me his test results, and with beauty like his being so seductive, my resolve had softened. The doctor told me that after having a child, and with traditional Chinese medicine to help regulate my body, this condition might even have a chance of healing. Then every month, I would no longer have to suffer through painful periods. So, are you keeping this baby? Roxana was still pressing me over the phone. I touched my flat stomach and made up my mind. Yes. Then what about Ryan? What else can I do? I'll follow the trend for once and run away with the baby. Pfft. Roxana laughed so hard she could barely breathe. Got it, bestie. I'll book a flight for you. In 3 years, no. Wait. 5 years, the genius cutie will strike. The moment I got home, I started packing clothes. But the doorbell began ringing madly at that exact moment. Ryan, the bargain bin baby daddy, had arrived. His sources of information were really fast. I let him in. After all, this really was something I needed to talk through with him properly. But the moment Ryan saw my suitcase, resentment flooded his face. Camila, you're really planning to run away with the baby? Now I got mad too. How are you eavesdropping on my phone calls? I'm not. The doctor who saw you is my friend. He wrapped his arms around my waist. This time, you can't push me away again. Can you? I put in effort too. You can't keep the fruits of my labor all to yourself. That's not fair. I leaned lightly into his chest. But Ryan, I'm really scared now. I don't dare get married again. Just give me a wedding. Camila, let's get married without registering it. He really did know how to get straight to the point. So I pointed at the suitcase on the floor and explained, I'm not running away. It's just that I can't wear a lot of my old clothes anymore. So I'm packing them up. Running away while pregnant really was not rational. Ryan was very good at consoling himself. He quickly came up with a whole line of reasoning to show how little he minded. In the past, a marriage certificate meant protection, a promise, a pact once made for life. But now, right, even an illegitimate child has inheritance rights. There's a cooling off period, and domestic violence hardly counts as intentional injury anymore. And your fists are still that strong. It doesn't matter, really. It doesn't matter. What a poser. Chapter 20. On my daughter's 5th birthday, I began telling her a story. Duke Zhuang of Jing defeated Duan at Yen. At first, Duke Wu of Jing married a woman from Shen, called Wu Jiang. She gave birth to Duke Zhuang in Gongshu Duan. The Duke said, those who do many unrighteous deeds will surely destroy themselves. Just wait and see. When you want to deal with someone, the best way is actually to indulge them. So I let Sam become more and more excessive, until he finally said the one sentence that even strangers could not help but sympathize with me for. Then Duan ordered the western and northern border towns to submit to himself. When the Duke heard the appointed date, he said, now the time has come, and ordered Zifeng to lead 200 chariots to attack Jing. If you want revenge and also want to stand on the moral high ground, then you not only have to endure, you also have to handle things thoroughly. So I endured for 3 years before I started finding other men, striking back one by one against the humiliations he had placed upon me. Ryan was not even my only option. If he had refused, there were always other choices, even some fresh-faced college boy who had just come of age. So Duke Zhuang placed Lady Jiang in the city of Ying and swore, until we meet at the Yellow Springs, we shall never see each other again. But later he regretted it, and so mother and son were reconciled as before. In the end, Duke Zhuang reconciled with his biased mother. But that does not mean he truly forgave her. At that time, the dowager held considerable power. For the sake of stabilizing his throne, he did not mind giving his mother a splendid palace to placate her. When you are already strong enough and happy enough, you should choose to yield in a conflict, so as to avoid provoking retaliation by escalating it. So I let Sam join a small company and spend his life with hope, but never enough to rise again. He would spend his days and nights in endless regret, crushed by the gap between what was and what might have been. So when do you think Duke Zhuang truly let go of his familial love for them? When Wu Jiang asked that Gongshu Duan be granted the fief of Ji, or when Duan wanted the western and northern border towns of Jing for himself, or when he was about to launch a surprise attack on Zhang and Wu Jiang planned to open the city gates from within as his accomplice? No, none of those. The moment Wu Jiang favored Gongshu Duan and tried to make him heir, Duke Zhuang had already hardened his heart. No matter whether it is family, friends, or a lover, if that relationship causes you pain, then you must cut it off as soon as possible, because if you do not leave, in the end you will still be the one who gets left behind, and when you are left, it will hurt even more. If Duke Zhuang had not been willing to let go of that tiny bit of family affection, not been willing to let go of Wu Jiang's occasional tenderness toward him or Gongshu Duan's occasional shows of reverence, he would have died because of it. When was it that I decided to throw Sam away? It was when I went to the address in that photo and really found him there. Even though I was still pregnant then, even though we had countless beautiful memories, even though he was still a successful man with status and achievements, sunk costs do not belong in major decisions. It is never too late to change course. I carved out my old feelings together with that bloody lump of flesh, then began to study, to invest behind Sam's back. A 5-year-old, of course, could not really understand any of this. Her hazy, confused expression was adorable beyond words, but that was all right. One day, somewhere on the road of her own life, she would face a similar choice, and then these fragments hidden deep in her mind would jump back out and guide her toward a decision. I strongly agree with one thing. Women are not born. They are shaped. Most girls are raised from childhood to be quiet and to avoid risk. In soap operas where love is treated as supreme, chastity and loyalty run through every episode. Boys, on the other hand, are taught the opposite. They are meant to be brave and heroic, in stories of power struggles and competing heroes. Women are nothing more than optional decoration. Little by little, women grow up hoping to marry a man they love, care for their husband, raise children, while men place more emphasis on conquering territory in the workplace. I did not see this truth clearly until I was almost 30. But my child must not learn it so late. The shadow standing outside the door quietly withdrew. That night, Ryan clung to me for a long time. Right before I fell asleep from exhaustion, he seemed to lean close to my ear and whisper, "You're so wicked, but I love you so much." Chapter 21. Ryan's Side Story. This is a story about waiting. When Ryan was little, he had not been injured, but Camila had saved him. He also had not been a chubby kid, but Camila had comforted him. Because his grandfather had failed in educating his father, his father had become a spoiled rich second-generation heir. Deeply pained, his grandfather decided that Ryan should finish middle school and high school as an ordinary person. Only by understanding the life of ordinary people could he avoid always looking down on others from above. Otherwise, one day when he fell, he would be shattered to pieces. So, on the sports field of an ordinary high school, he saw Camila. At that time, she turned her head slightly, chatting about something with the girl beside her. But that day the sunlight was just right. The breeze was gentle, and she smiled softly, raising her hand to tuck a loose strand of hair behind her ear. In that instant, his heart turned into a zither resting on a table, lightly plucked by a pair of delicate hands. With one resonant note, the lingering echo stretched long, and the strings of his heart trembled endlessly. But back then, they were in high school, charging toward the future. So, out of a sense of responsibility toward both of them, Ryan decided to wait until after the college entrance exams to confess. At the times when he could barely hold himself back, he deliberately dropped things in front of Camila twice, and she called out to stop him. That was how they exchanged a few words. Right before graduation, his identity was unexpectedly exposed. His grandfather feared for his safety and made him study at home. At that time, Ryan was still a shy, innocent boy. He gave gifts to the entire graduating class, just so that his beloved could receive the chocolate that carried his secret feelings. And because of that missed chance, Camila started dating Sam. But that was fine. He could wait for them to break up. Who would have thought that they would still be together all the way through college graduation? Ryan smiled faintly. That was all right too. Plenty of couples break up after starting work. He could wait longer. Who would have thought they still would not break up, and were even on the verge of talking about marriage? Ryan gritted his teeth and kept waiting. After all, there were also plenty of couples who broke up right before the wedding, and yet they got married smoothly. But that was still fine. Sometimes, once a man feels he has completely obtained a woman, he starts wanting to seek new emotions elsewhere. They could still divorce. When Sam started his business, Ryan anonymously gave him a large sum of money. Even if Camila could not be by his side, she still had to live well. He deliberately let some beautiful women circle around Sam, but he had not held a gun to Sam's head and forced him. Okay? Still, as long as Sam took even one step, Ryan's chance would come. At last, he had not waited in vain. Sam cheated. And it was right when Camila had just gotten pregnant. Ryan struggled with it a little, but in the end he still chose to send out the photos. Camila could not be kept in the dark and give birth in confusion, but what he had not expected was that Camila aborted the baby and still did not divorce. Sigh. There was nothing to be done. The girl he had fallen for was just that deeply devoted. That was all right. He could wait. Wait for her to hollow Sam out from her heart bit by bit. After waiting this long already, he did not mind. But that wait stretched on for another 3 years, and Camila still had not divorced. Ryan felt he could not wait any longer, and he could not keep being so proper anymore. He decided to take advantage of the opening and go seduce Camila, but he had never expected that the girl he had thought of day and night would suddenly walk right up to him. I heard you and my husband are sworn enemies. Want to make his life miserable together? Ryan lowered his head and kissed her. Of course. I couldn't ask for anything more. Ryan carried her to the passenger seat, thoughtfully fastened her seatbelt for her, and then asked like a gentleman, "My place or yours?"